This is Alice Cooper, and you're listening to Brando on Appetite for Distortion right here on iHeartRadio. Stay tuned, or else.
Do you know where you are? Do you know where you are?
This is Appetite for Distortion.
And welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion. It is Brando, episode 130. Hey, Alice, this is quite an honor to speak with you.
Well, thank you. If I cough, I'll cough away from the mic. All right. I got a little bit of a tickle in my throat, so.
Okay. I'll try not to kiss you either. I mean, you're very pretty.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Even though I was looking forward to that.
That's great. So, I mean, if you're feeling sick, I was going to start off by saying...
Oh, no, not sick.
Oh,
not
allergies.
At all. Just a little allergy cough, yeah.
Oh, I have that. So if I start hacking up, it's because my Claritin hasn't kicked in, or my Zyrtec hasn't kicked in.
What we'll do is we'll do it in harmony. I'll take the fifth, and you take the normal melody line, okay?
Well, for someone like you who's all over the world, I mean, I can't imagine the kind of environment and climates and, degrees of pollen you have to deal with.
The funny thing is I'm the one that can do 192 shows, 17 countries last year, 4 continents, and never get sick. So we come home here, it's 105 degrees, and they're having a big fire here in Arizona, and the pollen is everywhere. And so when I get out of here, I'll probably be fine.
You're used to being on the road. Yeah, that's your comfort zone.
That's true.
Oh, so you said you're in Arizona, your home state. So I'm assuming this is kind of a little bit of a break after the Vampires finished their run? Yeah,
we did the Vampires run. That was a nice little 10-show run. And the album came out then, the album that we were working on, all original material, and did very well. It was like on Spotify, I think, number 1 in 14 countries and number 2 in 20 countries. And so, I mean, it's doing really, really well. So we're very, very happy with that.
Rise is an awesome album. I was listening to last night on Spotify, speak of which, and actually again this morning. It sounds like the soundtrack to my next favorite horror movie, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that's what you were going for, but that's kind of the vibe.
You know what? We did a very unique thing on this. First of all, I've done 30 albums, studio albums. Wow. Aerosmith has done how many? At least that many, And Johnny has been in a rock band all of his life. His acting kind of took him away from being in a rock band, but now he's back in one. So basically, he did the bulk of the music writing in this. And because I figured this way, if I start listening to it and start arranging it and start chopping it up and saying, great, let's keep this here, let's move that over there, let me change that lyric and all that, I don't want it to sound like Alice Cooper. And same with Aerosmith. We don't want it to sound like Aerosmith. We want it to sound like the Vampires. And so we really went with all of the original versions of the song and, cleaned up very few pieces of it and just let it be what it was. And what it did was it really turned into the Vampire sound, which is I'm really, really happy with. It goes to a lot of places I wouldn't normally go on my album.
I was going to ask, so how do you approach it differently than your albums? How do you approach the Vampires record, in addition to maybe letting Johnny Depp do his thing, which is such a funny thing for me to say? How do you do it?
I basically do everything on our albums. I write it, arrange it. Bob Ezrin and I do all the writing. We do all the arranging. We do everything. We sing it, all of it. And it ends up being Alice Cooper. And you could take Mary Had a Little Lamb, and if we got a hold of it, would be an Alice Cooper song. But if you take all of that away and just I'll be the singer, and there's a couple of lyrics that I'll go, hey, it would be funnier, or it would be clearer if I said this instead of that. Normally, I would have the control of the entire lyrics.
Okay. And
here's another thing about this band that I really enjoy. everybody in the band is best friends. You know, it's like three guys, we're three alpha males in the band. You've got Johnny, who's used to running his show. I'm used to running my show, and Joe's, you know, certainly him and Steven run Aerosmith. There's never been one argument in 5 years in the studio or in rehearsal. Not one time has anybody stormed out of the room because of ego. It's been absolutely cooperative. Everybody just goes, okay, let's try that. Or we're laughing our way through it, you know. And that's really important because then you really look forward to being in that band. You know, the stress-free kind of ego-free thing. I say I like ego, but it should be on stage. You know, when I play at Alice is an arrogant, condescending villain. But off stage, I couldn't be more opposite of that. You know, and I said the same thing with the Vampires. I mean, when we're on stage, we should be dangerous. But when we're off stage, we should be extremely approachable.
I like that. Since you've played with so many different musicians, whether it be in the Alice Cooper band or, you know, collaborations that you've done, what is special about Johnny Depp and Joe Perry to you that you decided, or I don't know how the first original idea, who brought it up first, but for you three to make a band? Because you obviously would have your pick of the litter of who to collaborate with. What's special about Depp and Perry?
This is what it was, a series of events, really, that happened. I was doing Dark Shadows with Johnny Depp in London in that movie, which was a vampire movie, to be coincidental, you know. And I started telling him about the original Hollywood Vampires Drinking Club, you know. And we said, wouldn't it be cool to put a bar band together that just does songs celebrating our dead drunk friends? You know, Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, Harry Nilsson, John Lennon, T-Rex, Keith Moon. You know, those were the guys. And, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do that. I knew Johnny could play. I mean, Johnny was a really good player. And Joe walks in and says, I'm in. You know, the next thing I know, Duff McKagan goes, I'm in. And, you know, you basically you've got an all-star band, you know, right there. And it was supposed to be a bar band. We were supposed to be the world's most expensive bar band. And then we played the Roxy. And then the very next thing I know, we're at Rock in Rio, 200,000 people. And, you know, and the problem with that is everybody on that stage has been in front of 200,000 people before, so it didn't really shock anybody. It wasn't like a freak out that there's 200,000 people there. Even Johnny just fell right into it. He says, we do the same show whether it's 20 people or 200,000, right? I go, right. That was really, you know, we immediately became a touring band, a big band.
I love that it became more than it was supposed to be because it's great. It really is. I just mentioned I listened to Rise, and I'm assuming there obviously will be more dates in the future because you just had a short run. And speaking of short runs, I know I don't have you here for a lot of time because if that wasn't enough, new music from Vampires and finishing that tour, you're going out in just a bit. The Old Black Eyes.
I leave Thursday. Yeah.
Old Black Eyes is back. I love that name, by the way.
You know, it was certainly a takeoff on the Sinatra thing. Old Blue Eyes is back.
Sure.
You know, yeah. And I mean, and it's a brand new production. You know, we did this last show for 3 years, and now this production. When we get to New York at Foxwoods, we will rehearse there for 7 days in their big auditorium there with all the props. But it's like Christmas morning. When we get there, there's going to be all of the new props and the new stage and the new setup and a new set list and everything. So it's going to be like the first rehearsal is going to be probably just a musical rehearsal. And then we'll start, you know, putting it together as far as what happens where. And that's the fun part. Because all of a sudden you go, oh, I got a great idea. What if blah, 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 blah? And what if this happened there? Great, let's try it. And pretty soon, by the end of that 6-7 days, you've got an Alice Cooper production.
Wow. And then also you're going out with Hailstorm as well?
Yeah, Lizzie's been a friend of ours forever, yeah.
I probably first learned about Hailstorm from your radio show. And it's just amazing that all these years later, you guys are touring together.
Well, you know, she's a Nashville girl, and she's a rocker. You know, I mean, she could probably go either way. She could probably go, you know, Nashville or rock, but she's in a rock band, and she's a rock chick. I mean, really cool chick. When I was mentioning, we did Rock in Rio. Well, Hailstorm was down there. So we had Lizzie come up and do A Whole Lot of Love with us. She sang it. Now, the cool thing about this tour is that, my lead player is Hurricane Nita Strauss.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a shredder. She looks like a Victoria's Secret model and plays like Eddie Van Halen. So she just got voted best female guitarist in rock and roll. And Lizzie is another great female guitar player. So at some point, of course, I'm going to have to get them together on stage. I don't know where on the show, but probably on School's Out.
Awesome. I was going to ask that. And could you foresee perhaps doing maybe going to the studio with Hailstorm or Lizzie and putting out an official track from you guys and gals?
Those things happen so spontaneously that once you meet somebody and you know what they can do, it might be 2 albums from now where we're sitting there going, okay, Alice, we need a duet on this. Oh, I know. How about Lizzie? Let's call Lizzie. Or let's call Joan Jett, or let's call, Susie Quattro. Who, it doesn't matter. If their voice fits that song, that's who we'll go for. Yeah.
Earlier, you mentioned, because, again, I appreciate the time that you're giving me, especially since, and I know what it's like to fight a cough. I've had to mute the mic before where I'm hacking up along while the guest keeps going on, and I feel very awkward. You mentioned Duff McKagan before, which you've been friends with for a long time, and one of the original vampires. I would love to know the story behind The Garden, the song that you did with Guns N' Roses off Use Your Illusion.
Oh, that was, we took Guns N' Roses on their first tour. When we were in Los Angeles, 1984, I think it was. They were a bar band, I think, back then. And we had them open for us. This is before, Appetite for Destruction or any of that. And, I mean, they were a wild crowd. I mean, believe me. But, we would hear them on stage, and I'd say, these guys are really good. And it raises the quality of everybody's playing. When you hear somebody play that good, then it brings you up. But Axl and I were good friends. Slash and I were good friends and everything. And it's about 3 a.m, and Axl calls up and says, "Hey, I got this song." Axl works all night. And he says, "That's perfect for you." And I said, "Okay, I'll be right down there, but it's not going to take 6 years, right, to put this out?" No. I said, "I'm going to come down, and it'll probably take a couple hours." And I did it in 2 takes, and then went on. I almost forgot about it, But later on, we invited them to come in and do Under My Wheels with us. And so there's a version of Under My Wheels with, Axl and I singing and Slash and Kane Roberts playing guitar. It was really a cool version.
That's just amazing. Could you foresee, and it got me thinking, as you're continuing the tour, both with the Hollywood Vampires and solo and getting great headline acts, could you foresee maybe the Vampires or you teaming up with Guns N' Roses, since Not in This Lifetime keeps going? Because we can get a spontaneous The Garden. We can get a spontaneous Under My Wheels.
To us, it would be absolute. Everything is open at all times. I'm not one of those guys. As big as Alice Cooper has been for 50 years, when Motley Crue says, "We're going to do our last tour, our final tour, would you guys be our special guests?" And we went, "Sure." There's no ego there. We go on before them. Okay, sure. For us, we wanted to be in front of their audience, because their audience in that generation had only heard of the legend of Alice Cooper. I said, let's show them what Alice Cooper is. I think we gained more fans doing that tour than any other thing that we ever did, because their audience suddenly went, "Oh my gosh, I never saw anything like that." And it was a really good tour. I mean, it was, and we're all friends with Motley, and they're all sober now. Well, 3 of them are, but it was a fun tour to do. And any other, I think, band would have gone, "Oh, we're not opening." And I said, "It's not opening." I said, "We're the guest stars. We're used to headlining." But I saw the opportunity of being in front of 1 million Motley Crue fans. And I knew they were going to love our show, so that's why we took it that.
And that is why the legend of Alice Cooper continues. And let me just say before I let you go, I think it's so sweet and beautiful. You have the life pact with your wife of 43 years. My grandparents were married for 64 years. And not to get too morbid, but I'm so glad that he went before my grandma, because it just, broken heart, and you spend lives together. So, just,
oh my gosh.
It's just, it's wonderful to see.
My grandparents were married 76 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they were married when they were 15 and died at 95. I mean, as soon as he died, she didn't last very long, and that whole thing got so blown out of, how the British press is, right? The British press, they love sensationalism.
It's here in America,
when
too.
I'm talking to this girl. Yeah, I mean, they love it. When I go to London, I love picking up the Sun and the Mirror and all these, because they go, these are great stories. And it's sort of like our Inquirer, And so I said to the girl, she said, what would happen if one of you went, before the other one? And I said, oh, that'll never happen. I said, we're next to each other all the time. If it's an airplane, we're going down together. If it's a car, if I got hit by lightning, she would get hit by lightning too. She'd be right next to me. And it turned out Alice Cooper, death pact with wife,
No, I knew exactly what you meant.
So many calls. Yeah, I mean, I got so many calls going, well, how long does she have? And she's fine. She's healthier than anybody on the planet, But it was really funny how it got blown out of proportion.
No, I knew exactly. I was just thinking about, again, my grandparents. They say you could actually. My therapist tells me you could die of a broken heart, because when you're the love of your life. So, you like, as you said, you're booked until 2028. So you're good for a while.
That's right. That's right. It's. I'm going to be working at least till then. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see you again. It's been a while. I saw you at the Beacon Theater years ago with Twisted Sister and Sebastian Bach. You were awesome.
Yeah, you know what? I love putting our show into a theater. When our show goes into a theater, it gets a lot more intense. You can see all the detail in the show. You can see the emotional part. When you get into one of these big places, with 40,000 people, you kind of miss that intimacy of the Alice Cooper show. So I love going into theater. The Beacon is a great place to see the show.
Well, I'll see you wherever, and we're going to have plenty of opportunities to see you over the summer, throughout the fall, and beyond. So, Alice, just keep being you. Just thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, man. Thanks a lot.